Next level. Next level.
Hey, what's... Whoa. Alright, I guess I jumped into the wrong spot there, but not a surprise. Everything's going a little funny today. It says my stream health is bad. So I'm just going to kind of hang out here and see what happens before I get too deep into this. And also I'm going to get rid of this stuff from last week. I don't know why. That was still there. I just overlooked a couple things. Nope, we want that one. We don't want this. Jeez. Where are you? I think that's the one I want to get rid of. What's going on, Hawaii? Have not seen you here for quite a while, and business is slow, so you get a chance to hang out finally. I don't know if that's good or bad. Probably not great. Also spent countless hours fixing an issue in Chrome with a particular website. Fun. Oh, hey, Harvey, thank you for that. You know, it's weird on my end. It says stream health is really bad, but as long as it's smooth to you guys, then we're okay. So, as you notice, I had to start a little late today. I was trying to get everything set up. I was really wanting to be able to have all these cameras going so you can not only see under the microscope, but also see kind of like the big image of what's going on. And I don't know how well this is going to work out. I still need to invest in just one more additional camera and then figure out how to get a computer to recognize more than one what is it, USB 3.0 camera, because apparently when you put two of them connected at the same time, it doesn't like that. It gets confused somehow. I don't know. Hey, what's up, Nate? Apple hasn't solved that problem for me. Neither is Windows 10, so I don't know where to go next. But I need to have multiple cameras. I think I just maybe need to change to a different graphics card. Hopefully that would fix it. Multiplexer, is that what I'm looking for? Yeah, something, because I'm just, it's kind of crazy that you get things like 2 or 4 USB ports, and then eventually you need like 30. And so far, to my knowledge, no one's really solved that issue to where you can have like 10 or 15 USB 3.0 devices connected together and get sufficient, output to power them up and then to run them. But hopefully sometime in the future. So I wanted to show you guys this real quick. I think it's on. I've got it set up here. So a couple nights ago, I got an iPhone 6s. And a lot of times when we get the backlight issues with those, as you probably know, it's usually something pretty minor. A lot of times a filter will get blown or something, and that kind of protects the circuit and keeps other things from being damaged in the process. Unfortunately, that wasn't the case for this one. So if you saw this image at the beginning, what's going on here is on the left-hand side, you can see the big coil right there. That thing has all kinds of gunk coming out of it, so we know that's bad. Just to the left of that, you can see that the diode is visibly burned, so we know that that has to go. And then right next to that on the left, like closest to me, let's go over here. So closest to me here, we've got a big capacitor right there, this one, that's C4023 I want to say, and that was bad for sure. And then the one right over from that is a glass diode, and I've never seen this with the 6S before, but it is literally lifted off the board. So it's kind of sitting at an angle like this. So it just kind of blew that thing off when this circuit shorted out. So the thing about it is, normally this wouldn't be a huge deal. We can replace all that stuff. We rebuild those things on the iPhone 6 all the time. But with this one, as you can see, all of that gooey, black, thick, tarry underfill surrounds all of these components. So this one I looked at, I thought, man, this is going to be a nightmare. I almost don't want to do it because we're just on the other side of those upper capacitors you see, those 3 in a row over there, is the CPU. And we definitely want to keep heat away from that. I really hate to use hot air, anywhere in these, in this type of location. So when the phone came in, it would not boot up because that line was shorted to ground. So what I had to do was figure out where it was coming from. It ended up being that large capacitor. And for anyone who's wondering, if you happen to come across this, I thought this might be helpful just to show you. One, I still would recommend against using hot air just because you're so close to the CPU. But if you take a big soldering iron, and when I say big soldering iron tip, the one that I use for this is actually still on my iron. This one is the Hakko. What is it? It is the T15 DL32. So this is the biggest soldering iron tip that I have, and I generally use that for things like PlayStation HDMI ports because they require so much heat. And if you set that right on top of that big capacitor, you can pretty much melt the whole thing off. So you can see on the right-hand side of the image there, that thing came off. I was able to go in and very slowly and carefully just kind of warm up and carve away all that gunk. And what I used, I thought I had it handy. Hold on a second. I want to show you this because this is very helpful. If I can figure out where I put it. Where did I set that thing? Now I'm going to forget where I put it. I think I have a spare, though, around here somewhere. So let me grab the extra. And that was fun. So I knew this would happen eventually, but it didn't happen while I was working on something. I actually sliced myself open just now on, I don't know what, something that was sitting in a box. Let's see what that was. Oh, I know what it was. It was my old iPhone 6 BGA stencil, and I reached down into the package, and now I have a nice little gash in my finger, so we'll deal with that later. But what I wanted to show you was this right here. Oh, that's not even the right one. Like 3 of these things. Okay, so you remember, if you don't remember, I showed these a while back, and they're from that, what was the website? I want to say Geek Toolbar, something like that. And these things look like some kind of scimitar or something. And I was able to use some heat from the iron and just go in there and carve that thing off. So I was able to remove this stuff. I'm confident I didn't damage anything in the process. And once I got the short cleared, I can see that the phone is going through a normal boot cycle on the power supply. Of course, there's still no backlight because I have to replace all this stuff, and I don't keep those glass diodes on hand because I've never seen one damaged before. So I've got that stuff ordered. It's probably going to be a couple days before it comes in, but at least in my experience, I would go with the soldering iron, and you should be able to clear this kind of stuff without putting any hot air on it, which is, again, kind of sketchy because when you really start heating up that surface, the heat likes to spread, and then we run into some other problems. Let's see. Multiplexer, get creative with mirrors. Yeah, that's a good idea. Hey, Oscar, what's going on? I was going to ask you because you'd sent me a message earlier regarding that phone. Is it not already unlocked? Because if it uses multiple carriers, I would have thought that it is. Have you already tried some different SIM cards on there? Use Yaxon YX535 BGA IC adhesive removal solution. Oh, okay. Man, I need to look that up because I spent quite a while carving this thing. And if there's an easy way to get around it, I'm going to Google that right now because that would be perfect. Yaxon X35 BGA IC adhesive removal solution. That is a big word, a big term to look up. Let's check it out. Okay, so this is from AliExpress, $25. Cool. I will bookmark this. Thank you, Hawaii, because like I said, that was a pain to remove. That will melt off the underfill. Awesome. And I presumably not damage any of the surrounding components. Nate had one just like that recently. The glass diode was at a 45-degree angle, still worked. Interesting. Cleaned out and replaced coil caps and diodes. So I wonder then, Nate, if that glass diode was detached, which I assume it was if it was at a 45-degree angle, maybe I can just replace the big coil and the diode and get this thing working again. But, and I already replaced the capacitor. That was the easy one, obviously. My plan was to work from the inside out, and I wanted to put the big coil on last, so that way I have a lot of clearance to kind of reach in there. But I'm wondering if it would work without the glass diode. And I would think that one would be pretty easy to install with lower temperature hot air, hopefully. Oh yeah, scrape the underfill away. Don't let it get on your skin. Okay, I'll keep that in mind. Man, I get it. I am trying to stop the bleeding here. This is crazy, guys. I just sliced my finger like on the top side, not on the bottom. So anyways, what else do we have? Oscar, regarding that unlock, just curious, have you already tried another SIM card? And one of the things that we notice, and a lot of people do message me regarding unlocks, is that it's generally going to cost you less if you're working with something like an AT&T phone when it comes to getting the locks removed from the network, especially if it's an iPhone. That's really the major one. A lot of people have iPhones. For whatever reason, if it's on T-Mobile's network, it's generally going to be more difficult to unlock if it's still in contract or financed or anything like that. Solder that flesh wound. Yeah, it's funny. I used to have a first aid kit that had like some freeze spray on it that you just spray it on there and you stop bleeding immediately. But don't have any of that handy. I do, however, have some rubbing alcohol, which is the worst way to treat a cut, but it does kill the germs, right? So let's take some of that. Hey, I should do Mike's first aid. I really hate to do this, but I don't want to run around looking for, that burns. I don't want to run around looking for, what do you call it? What's that other stuff? Hydrogen peroxide. I just want this thing to stop bleeding because I don't want to put it under the camera like this. Gosh darn it. Okay, I'm going to have to go grab a Band-Aid real quick. I'll be right back. All right, it looks like this is going to be a minute before it stops, so I need to keep some pressure on it. Show it under the microscope. There we go. Would I have to put a warning on this video if I did that? That'll be funny. Let's see. You guys are sick. Actually, it's just a cut, but let's see. See if we can get the big scope camera here. All right, so here's what's happening. I have to do surgery on myself here. There we go. Isn't that lovely? It's kind of cool to be able to see it with the microscope, though. I can't zoom out as far as I want to, but it does not want to stop bleeding for some reason. See that? Nice clean cut. Anyways, hopefully that will stop pretty soon so we can get back to business. In the meantime, I'll just try to entertain you here with some conversation. Actually, I've been wanting to do a stream. Ah, man, this is going to haunt me. Sorry, it's hard to do this with 3 fingers anyways. So I've been wanting to do a stream that was a little more casual for a long time, where we don't have to follow like a set format of bullet points or any single repair. And it turns out right now that, and I had to start a little late because I had a bunch of stuff that I needed to get done. And I'm really at the point, and who said it? Greg said at the beginning there, I'm at the point now where I'm caught up with every easy repair that I have. And when I say easy, I mean repairs that we know how to do. We know what the problem is. We know what has to be replaced or readjusted or whatever it is, or remounted. And now I just have a bunch of stuff that I can't figure out. And I know you guys have all gotten to that point eventually, where you're looking at a half a dozen devices or so that you're just like, I don't know what to do with this next. Like, I really don't know if they're going to be fixable. When you invest a certain amount of time, there's kind of that no turning back, because it's like, if you don't get paid for this, now you completely wasted your time. And in most situations, if I think there are too many variables, I'll say, look, if you really want me to pursue this, then we're going to have to charge some sort of bench fee. But a lot of the times you don't do that, because you want to take a look inside and you go, oh, I think this is going to be an easy fix, no problem. You try one thing, that doesn't work, you try another, and it's just kind of, you dig yourself deeper and deeper, right? So I'm looking at a number of different devices right now, and maybe if any of you have already had experience with these, you can give me your thoughts on the matter. So I've got one, which is an iPhone 7. Actually, I talked to you about this last week, I think, Nate. I've got an iPhone 7 that came in, and the story was that the customer just wanted to have the lens replaced on the rear-facing camera. So after that repair was performed, apparently the phone wouldn't power up anymore. So they sent it to me thinking that it was probably something other than the camera that caused the problem. Why would changing out the camera lens stop the phone from booting up? So I get this phone in and take it apart, test it outside the housing, everything works fine, put it back in the housing, and everything works fine again for a couple days. I send it back to the customer, and then they say, well, we went to complete the lens repair that they were in the middle of at the time, and when they put it back together, the phone doesn't work again. So they sent it back to me, and I have been able to get it to power on with nothing attached to it except for the front-facing camera, and I've tried several different front-facing cameras. On the power supply, it will boot up about 1 out of 10 times at this point. Before this, it was like 1 out of 4, 1 out of 5. Now it's like rarely booting up. Usually it goes into a long boot loop. After I talked to Nate about this, I did end up doing the audio IC repair, which I really didn't think was going to have anything to do with it, but we don't know, right? I mean, it's acting like a long boot loop, so I've never seen that be intermittent. Like the phone boots up sometimes, but it goes into a boot loop other times, but I guess that's possible. So I did go ahead and repair that, put the jumper on C12. All the pads look great, so it really didn't look like anything was lifting there. And I've got the same problem again. So this phone is going into a long boot loop with nothing that I'm aware of, other than having been worked on for a rear camera replacement. Now that said, it is pretty scuffed up. Like the corners are all dinged. You can tell this thing's been dropped like many times. You may not be able to see on this camera, but everything kind of looks, yeah, it's not going to focus for me. Everything looks like it's been banged up on all the corners. And the story is the customer works in construction, so assuming he doesn't have a case on this thing, we would imagine that it's got a lot of wear and tear. And I'm wondering if, and I strongly suspect that the people who originally got this phone for repair kind of inherited a lot of other problems. That's actually a great topic, come to think of it. When you get a phone in for one thing, or you think it's one thing, and it ends up being a whole bunch of other stuff. So as I said earlier, I can put this thing on the power supply, and every once in a while I can get it to boot, but the last time it did boot successfully for me was probably about 3 or 4 days ago, and since then it hasn't been booting up. So I don't know if this thing's going to come back, but where would you go next if you were having this kind of problem? Like, it looks like it's charging, but again, it goes into the boot loop. So whether you're looking at the ammeter or the power supply, you get the same thing. It goes through a normal boot up to a certain point. Oh, and just like the one that I had a while back, right before it completes booting up, it goes to a very high amperage draw. So it maxes out my power supply at 2 amps, and the voltage does drop for a second or two, and then it kind of goes back to normal. Looks like it's going to boot up, and it doesn't. So I'm probably, well, I'm not too confident on this one, but I'm suspicious as to whether that would indicate that there's a secondary system or a circuit that's not present until the phone powers up. And once it gives it that signal to turn on, then it reveals that short, which obviously is going to be a little difficult to track down because it's very short and it's very fast. And, you know, outside of the CPU and GPU lines, which always look ridiculously low when it comes to resistance, I haven't found anything that you would normally expect to be present to have any problems, you know, even being partially shorted to ground. So I'm not sure. Yeah, the worst ones are the intermittent ones, right? Because you have a problem, you don't know why, and then it goes away and then it comes back. So what do you do from there? Home button is not cracked. Let's see. Let's take a look at it though, because I'm willing to explore every possibility here. It does have a replacement screen on it, so I'll do that one underneath the scope. Hawaii, yeah, I'll take a look at that. Thank you for that suggestion. Does the home button click when it is hung on the logo, Nate? No, I don't believe that it does. But is the board bent? That's a fair question also. So let's get the board out. I was kind of waiting for my finger to heal, but I think it stopped bleeding, so it should be cool. Let's see. On the mobile repair subreddit, there was a posting that showed power profiles on the PowerZ PC software. You know, that's something that I should be recording, and I'll be sharing for sure once I have some stuff here to, let's see if we can get this camera here so you guys can see this one. Okay, so that's kind of where I want it to be. Let's see, we'll bring the phone over here. So this thing cannot focus though. I think this is the camera that only focuses when you're super, super close. Yeah, this is terrible. What's going on with this thing? This thing just doesn't focus. Come on. All right, this camera sucks. I'll just put it in front of the, I'll just put it over here where you can see. Replacement battery. Well, Hawaii, I hooked it up to the power supply with the same result, so I don't think the battery is going to be different. That might, yeah, I assume this is a replacement battery, though, to answer your question. In fact, I know that it is a replacement battery, yes. Have you tried reballing or replacing baseband PMU? I have not. Phone has been through a lot, true. No, I haven't tried that, Nate, and I'm kind of saving that for my last resort. Like I said, I kind of feel like I'm getting more and more time invested into this thing, but I guess if there's any time to do it, it's when you're somewhat caught up. And this is just one of my, oh, my tool finally broke. That's a bummer. I need a better pry tool. Let's see. I think I have a bag of these around here somewhere. There we go. All right, so let's take a look at the board. I think we've got all the screws out here. Yeah, and this thing is no help. Let's see. Is that any better with less light? Okay, is the board bent? I'm going to say maybe slightly. I mean, it's an iPhone 7, so it doesn't. It might be towards the top. It could be possibly could be bent right around here, which is typical, right? So did the audio I see. So yeah, maybe baseband, but why would that cause an intermittent problem? One, and interesting story, I've actually got another, now that you mentioned that, I've got another one sitting here that I did the baseband power, the BBPMU 3 times. And it keeps coming back. So it's a weird thing. You know, usually you reball that and everything's fine. This one works for a day or two and then it quits, which is kind of weird, right? Would that mean that but when you reball it, it starts working again. So to me, that would say that the chip's not bad, but maybe some of those pads underneath just continue to lift. This one, by the way, definitely bent. And judging by the wallpaper on the front, I think that the owner of the phone has children or a child, so that can, in fact, I meant to cover this up. Give me 1 second. Hopefully I just didn't put that on the camera. Didn't mean to. Let's do this so that we have some privacy for the owner. Wow, this tape's not really good for blocking out pictures. Let's try this again. All right, and battery's dead anyways, or practically dead. Okay, so I think that works. So this phone, very similar, but it's consistent. Whereas this one, it will occasionally boot up, but not all the time. And it doesn't seem to matter if you put any pressure on the chip or anything like that. So do we go ahead and just do the baseband power management IC? Well, let's do the easy thing first, I guess, like Hawaii said, and take a look at the home button, because that is actually a good call, man. You know, I hadn't even, let's see, can we get this camera back on? Let's take a look at, oh, we're gonna need some light, the home button, because that is a common problem. And you know, because they said they did the camera, I hadn't even thought about the home button, but that makes a lot more sense that this could have been damaged in the process. I wonder if that cable's bad, or, oh, look at this, guys. Wow, good call, Hawaii. See that? Sometimes the answer is staring at you right in the face, and you need a second opinion. Before we go in, and look at this. Wow, this is pretty terrible. This is factory soldering, apparently. That's funny, guys. I've been messing with this thing for days, and I didn't even, honestly, I didn't even pay attention to the fact that this was a replacement screen. Had I noticed that before, I probably would have looked at the home button, but I thought that all they changed out was the rear camera. If this pays off, I'm going to tell everyone where I got the answer. Yeah, it got nicked for sure. If you can boot outside the housing, try holding pressure on the baseband. Okay, let's see. Have you tried it with without the proximity sensor front camera? Okay, so guys, thanks for your suggestions. I think that what we're looking at is just this stupid cable. And if it's that easy, I'm going to kick myself, because why didn't I notice that earlier? So we need an iPhone 7 screen, and we're going to need, of course, the, let's see, should we do this? Okay, so we're definitely going to need this front-facing camera, so we don't have to wait forever for this thing to boot. And I'm going to have to put on my geek glasses. What do you think of this? I can't see anything, but I'm wearing reading glasses now. You get so used to working under the microscope, and then you realize that you can't see just to work on a screen without magnification, which is pretty funny. And an indication of my age, I suppose. I seriously I couldn't tell you if these screws, by looking at them from, 18, 20 inches away, I couldn't tell you if they're a pentalobe or trilobe or Phillips. And of course, they're all Phillips. I want to verify that, because if you stick the wrong screwdriver in there, we have problems, right? So let's go ahead and pull this off, and we will throw it into or onto another screen. And if that fixes the problem, I will have one less device to stress out about today. All right, so this is it is kind of on camera. Man, I'm going to feel silly, guys, if it was that the whole time, and I didn't even pay attention to the screen. That was like the last thing on my mind. Jeez. Okay, let's see if we can get this thing off without any damage. Actually, do I have a screen with a front-facing camera on it already? Because that would be a lot easier. I don't think that I do, though. And this one's definitely not going to stay on here anyway, so might as well take it off, right? Where's my pry tool? Alcohol. You stay over there for a second. Oh, you know what? It's nice when the camera has been transferred once before already, because this adhesive is barely even there anymore. Come on. There we go. Okay, so let's go grab a screen. And man, if this works, I'm going to be excited. Let's see. We need iPhone 7 white. And I think, let's see. Oh, I'm gonna have to tape over this this new screen because I'm pretty sure they have pictures on this one as well. It's kind of a funny thing. Have you noticed how many people put pictures on their screens, but how many people put their own picture on their wallpaper? It's kind of interesting. And then I think I had this conversation with Nate also, and he said, well, maybe it's so they can tell. What was it, something about significant others or something like that, Nate? I think you said. Which makes sense. Oh, well, this sucks. What am I thinking, guys? I have to move the whole home button too. Ugh. All right, let's do this. Screwdriver. Let's see, would it be better? God, I don't know why this camera is so terrible. This is the worst camera ever. Do not buy this Logitech. What is it? What is this Logitech? This is the Logitech HD webcam C615. Worst camera ever. Worst camera I've ever used before, for sure. I honestly thought I was going to do this stream and call it all of my unsolved problems that I can't fix. And that may still be the title, but maybe Hawaii just helped me solve this thing with like the most simple idea ever. Just check the home button, Mike, or check the screen. All right, I'm going to turn this on for a second again because I would hate to damage their home button. Let's see. Let me see what's on the comments here. You can get corrective vision surgery for farsightedness. Yeah, and I did the audio IC. Yeah, joke's on me here. Well, I'll tell you what, they're not going to have to worry about their audio IC for a long time. But yeah, that was definitely not something we needed. Let's see. All right, let's get a hold of this dude. I need one more pry tool here just to stabilize. Hopefully the home button's not damaged too, because that would make things even worse. Actually, what all do we need? We need the screen, we need the home button. Yeah, I guess I just got to completely install it, unfortunately. I wish there was an easy way to test these things. I wish that iPhones would boot up without everything attached. That would certainly make data recovery easier. By the way, guys, if you were here when I was talking about the iPhone 8 Plus that would not boot up, that one's still not happening. That was the one where I had to order the Hydra and the Tigris IC, and unfortunately that did not solve the problem. So the 8 Plus I was talking about, that one will boot up and it shows connect to iTunes on the screen and it won't update. It shows it's going through the update. It says congratulations, your phone is updated, everything's fine. The phone reboots, and when it starts, all you get is a black screen with iPhone is disabled on the back. That's it. So as far as data recovery on that one, I think they're going to be out of luck unless we can come up with something else other than that. I think that's pretty much a wrap, though. All right, let's get this home inside. Oh, this is so funny, guys. I was seriously just looking at nothing but the camera. Yes, I did the baseband and all this stuff, and if it's this stupid flex cable, wow. All I can say is wow. All right, so we can do this one outside the housing. If I can get this cable plugged in. Actually, I didn't even have to go through this much of an installation, but that's okay. Come on. Where are you? Oh, this stupid foam. Plug in. Obviously, I don't want to force this, but it feels like it doesn't want to line up at the moment. And some of these aftermarket screens... Oh, come on. Really? I think we need to push this in just a bit. Okay, there we go. All right, so we have home button, and we need front camera, and we need logic board. I'm going to do this outside of the housing with the power supply. And let's get, I need to move some things here before I make a mess. So take the home button screws out of the way. And this thing, this iPower thing, if you guys don't have one, you should definitely invest. Makes your life so much easier than trying to short pins together. And my dogs are going to go crazy here in a second, I have a feeling. All right, so let's get our front camera. Make sure this cable's straight. All right, front camera. And 2 cables here. All right, so somebody's here. I'll be right back. All right, sorry about that. We have great watchdogs here. Let's see. Fingers crossed. I'm seriously, if I don't use reading glasses, I'm seriously using a microscope now when I plug in cables. Just get to see everything. All right, fingers crossed. Let's see. iPhone 7. Okay, you go here. Turn on the power. And I want to make sure that there's nothing showing up on this screen even though I taped it off. So let's see if we can get a boot. First of all, I'm sure that we have an... Oh, what's going on here? Okay, so we have something on the screen. I'm sure it's an Apple, but this will of course take a minute or so. Let's see. Slide the flex towards the back. What? What do you think of brand Hakko when purchasing a hot air station? This would be my first time buying from this brand. Hawaii, what are you using for a hot air? I am using the Quick, and I think that's what a lot of people have, but okay, so what just happened here? I think we got a boot loop still. I'm not sure. Yeah, oh, that's unfortunate. Thought we had it figured out. But I'm getting an Apple. And then blank screen drops down to 0 and starts over again. So still boot loop. I don't know why. Maybe the front camera's damaged too. I really didn't take a good look at the home button either, so we'll check that in just a second. But yeah, it looks like we're just getting a boot loop still. But the interesting thing is it's not maxing out the amperage anymore, and the highest it pulls looks like about 750, and then it goes around 500, 400, 300. It never hits 1 amp during this boot cycle, so something else is amiss. Disconnect the front camera. Okay, I'm okay with suggestions. Let's try that. Disconnect front camera, reboot, and meanwhile, I'm going to look at this camera under the scope and see if we have anything happening that we need to be aware of. I don't see anything obvious. Although the back side has a couple of nicks. Oh, you know what? Look at this. This looks like screw damage. That's interesting. Okay, so check this out. See that right there? See, can you focus? See those cuts right there? They're almost round. You see that pattern? It looks like somebody kind of tried to put a screw or maybe push something on here too close. But let's see what happens here. I know that without the front camera, it's going to take longer to boot up. So we'll leave that. And you know, what you had asked me, Nate, about it, whether the phone was vibrating or not when it booted, I can't check that unless I put it back inside the housing. But we can always test that too. Let's see. This might be a bit chewed up right here. See that? I suppose that could cause a problem. Let's see what's going on here. Do I have an apple? Anything? Nothing. So, oh wow. Oscar wins. Actually, Hawaii and Oscar both win. Huh. You guys are awesome. Look at this. I'm sorry, hold on. He's got like his kid's picture on here. So, there we go. Now you can't even see it. Here, let's do that. Look at this. You guys are brilliant. You're much smarter than I am. I was looking at the most complicated thing you can possibly imagine. And what's the rule? Check the easy things first. This whole time, what we were looking at was damage to the front camera cable and damage to the home button cable. And now the phone works. I owe you guys both. So Hawaii, I don't know how I'm going to get you some stuff, but I will. You're going to have to email me your address, and I'll send you something. And Oscar, I'll see you soon, hopefully. You guys this is great. I am very excited. I was about to give up on this one, and now we have a phone. And this whole time, looking at board level, trying to figure out what this complex problem was, and it was very simple. That is called facepalm, right? All right, so this is good. I can put this back together, and we'll be set. I cannot thank you guys enough. I give you my word. I'll send you something if you give me your address. So let me clean this mess off. I'm not going to put this back together because that's obviously going to take a while. And maybe you guys could help me solve some more problems. That would be awesome. What if we had a place where people just kind of hung out for this stuff, this sort of thing, and we all figured out how to solve problems? How cool would that be? And there's no membership fee, you know? We could all just try to help each other solve stuff, and nobody has to pay to join. I think that would be brilliant. They say a rising tide raises all ships, but a lot of people want to make money off of what they know, which is, you know, certainly their right to do so. But I feel like we don't learn nearly as much that way. Let's see. Hey, what's going on, Johnny Chang? I will see you tomorrow. Yeah, Oscar, swing by, man. I'll definitely be there, and we'll probably have some really cool stuff to work on. I've got to set this aside because it's going to take some stickers. So now, what about the one that keeps losing its baseband? Do we want to deal with that? Because that is one of my other problems. I need to move this stuff, though, so we don't get anything mixed up. Man, I cannot believe how easy that was once you get a second opinion. Sometimes you just got to back away and have someone else step in and take a look at it objectively. All right, what's next? Let's see. So I've got an iPhone 7 that keeps losing its baseband, and I don't know if maybe I should run jumpers. I mean, have any of you guys that have done these, I want to ask your opinion on this as well. So let's open up ZXW and see if we can figure out what might be causing this problem. So as I mentioned earlier, I've got an iPhone 7. I reball the baseband PMU. It works. Sometimes for a day, sometimes for several days, but eventually it stops and it loses its modem firmware again. And where's my ZXW? What's going on here? It did not open for some reason. Let's try that again. Oh, there we go. And can we get a screen capture here? Let's move this up here. Let's see. Let's move this. Come on. Oh my gosh, this thing's killing me. This mouse is terrible. There we go. All right, so let's see if we can get a screen capture here somehow. What if I do this? Is this my screen? There we go. Well, it covered up everything, but that's okay. So here's what I'm looking at. I have an iPhone 7. So let's open that up. And this is actually the Intel version, not the Qualcomm. So let's see. I don't think Intel really tells us anything though. So let's go over here and take a look at this real quick. Oh, shoot, I lost my chat though. We want the chat up here on the screen. There we go. In fact, we can probably do, no, we can't do that. We can take this down. Let's see if we can get my camera back on here. Okay. Not that it's important, but it kind of looks a little better this way. So on the iPhone 7, we do know, thanks to Pioneer Soldering Mom Jessa Jones, and whoever else may have contributed to this, I don't know. I always try to give credit where due, but we do know that right along the edge of the NAND, which is on the opposite side basically of the SIM card tray, that there are some weak spots that affect the audio IC. So we've often had to run that C12 jumper, which should be, let's see if we can zoom in. That's going to be this one. Oh, is that it? Am I losing it here? BC, C12. Okay, so we often have to run a jumper because that little pad shown in red loses its connection. It, you know, a lot of times when you open these up, they just are flopping around in there. Sometimes the pad comes completely off. So we know that that's an issue. Now this baseband PMU, which is down here on the opposite side, it's a little further away from that fault line, right? So I'm wondering, first of all, this is the one that I'm looking at, which unfortunately on the Intel, it doesn't tell you what these are. We can probably get an idea, you know, by comparing it to the Qualcomm version. But we've got this, and you can see where that connects. This one doesn't connect to anything in close proximity, and then down here, we have one more. So let's see if we can kind of figure out what those are. If we go to the Qualcomm, I should have numbered those. Should have paid attention to what they were. But if we go to the Qualcomm version here, you can see it's a completely different chip. It's laid out different. It's not square. It's kind of offset. But we know that this right here is going to be our main PPVDD main right up here at the top. And it comes in at 3 different spots. So I guess theoretically, if it's not connected up here, that might be a problem. But I would be more prone to think that it's one of these other connections here. This is PP1VO LDO9. And what is this? I can't click on it sometimes. Okay, and this is PPVSW S5. And then we've got a couple grounds. And we've got PP1V8 LDO14. So, in anyone's opinion, what do you think? Should I just go ahead and do it and run jumpers to everything that's close by here? Because of what I'm not going to do, you know, obviously, is take something like over here. I'm not running any jumpers from the middle of the IC, but we shouldn't have to. You know, theoretically, from what we know with the iPhone 7 is something's lifting up. It's got to be something along the edge here. So that would be if we go back to our if we go back to our Intel board, I think there's only 3 or 4 possibilities here that we might consider jumpering. And I believe, let's see, does this go anywhere? So that one, that one's going to be kind of a pain. We've got ground, NC, ground, and then we really only have 3 other connections. We have this one, which wouldn't be difficult. That's close by. We've got this, which we'd really probably have to scrape into the board, I think, and just attach a jumper to that little spot right there because it's right next to it. Which also leads me to believe that that is probably not what's broken, but who knows, could be. And then, of course, this one is right by. What do you guys say? I'm curious to hear your opinions. If it were you, and I've done this phone, like I said, 3 times already, I've replaced it with a brand new baseband power management unit. So I don't think that was a problem in the first place because, like I said, you reball it, it works, but over time it quits. So that would lead me to believe that something's lifting here. And maybe when we install it, it holds, and later on the board gets flexed a little bit. Should I leave the screws out? I mean, how would you handle this one? I'm looking for your opinions. Check the lines around it for shorts. You mean the... well, Nate, it works initially, though. So if it was shorted, wouldn't you think that that would be apparent as soon as we turn the phone back on? Just asking. I mean, I could be completely off, but I wouldn't suspect that it was. Mike had an i7 no service and fixed it by replacing BBPMU. Then a couple of months later, the same thing, but the PMU did not fix it. Really sure the short is under baseband. Oh, I see what you're saying. So you think that the baseband is shorted and it's causing the PMU to go bad over time, I'm assuming? Okay. Let's see. Crowd-solving problems. I've been pondering live streams to solicit help too. Hey, you should, Nate. To me, this is great. I couldn't ask for more. You know, I'm flattered that you guys even come to hang out and watch this stream, but you helped me solve a problem, which was right in front of my face, which is really cool. I love that. So it works for a few minutes and then service drops. No, Nate, actually what's happening is every time I do the repair, the phone goes, I test it for a day or two, everything's fine, give it back to the customer, and she'll have it work anywhere from several hours up to several days, and then it loses the modem firmware again. That's what's happening. Hey, what's going on, Carl? How are you? I have Ali Hassan. I have iPhone 7 full short. I removed some caps, but now is taking 0.09. Still taking 0.09. Okay. So what you're saying is on the power supply, before you boot the phone up, you're still drawing 0.09 amps, if I'm reading that correctly. If that's the case, obviously we want to try to track that down. What's unfortunate is if you're only drawing 0.09 amps, it's probably going to be difficult, I think, to see the heat. So I would certainly start by feeling around on the phone. If there's not the type of bottleneck that we have in the like one of the charging MOSFETs or what's that other thing called where all the power runs through? You know, if you don't have an area like that that's pulling everything into it, then if you don't have a thermal camera, which I don't either, I'm still a huge fan of this stuff. The super cold freeze spray. If you don't have it and you're fortunate enough to get a duster, and you've probably seen this already, I'm probably not showing you anything new, but if you turn these things upside down, sometimes they're going to leave a terrible scent in the air that settles on the back of your tongue. That's why I am always hesitant to use this. But this particular brand, which is called Clean Me, let's see. See this one here? It's called Clean Me. You can turn this thing upside down and spray it this way, and it acts like freeze spray. So it's going to put cold, it's going to freeze the board just like the freeze spray does. What I don't know is whether or not the moisture inside this thing will be a problem on your logic board. I haven't had it be one, so I think it's relatively safe, but I can't say that for certain. But I would probably start by freezing whatever part of the board you can see under the microscope, turn on the power supply, and see what melts first. Now, a lot of times that's going to be misleading, again, especially with a low amperage draw like that. So, yeah, that's going to be a tricky one. You said it had a... Let's see, I had a full short, iPhone 7, removed some caps. Do you have any indication as to what caused the short? Is there any moisture damage on the inside? Do you see any physical damage? Was there any physical, components that were damaged that were causing that initial short? That'd probably be my place to start. Sometimes it's tough to track down. Let's see. Nate, I sent you an error of the photo I was seeing on the phone. Did you get something similar? Let's see. We'll see what you sent, what Nate sent me. An update is required to use cellular data. No, actually, Nate, I've seen that error before, and I want to say that supposedly had something to do with carriers not updating their settings before Apple released the new iOS, and I may be wrong on that, but no, what I'm getting is, here, I'll show you. I should have put this thing on the charger. Long story short, if you go into the settings, settings, general, about, and you look at the modem firmware, the modem firmware is there initially and the phone's working, and eventually it just disappears. So the phone goes to searching or no service. It doesn't have this icon that you're showing me. It just looks like there's no, like you're out of range. It doesn't have that little red triangle up in the corner. Let's see. I've never owned a hot air station. I'm thinking of buying my first one from Hakko. Would you recommend this brand or a different one for first timers? I removed caps, but not short caps. Board still in short. Okay, Ali, let me think about that for a second. As far as the hot air station, guys, you know, everyone has their preference depending on what kind of work you're going to be doing. Okay, I have a hot air station that's, I have a couple different ones that I use. I don't know what the price is on the Hako air. Let's look that up actually, because now you got me curious. How much is the Hako station that you're looking at? Because, oh, here's what Hawaii was talking about, which by the way, I'm going to bookmark because I'm going to get that for sure for this stupid underfill. And then what I'm using, what's the model in the Hako thing? Hot air. We'll see what you're looking at. Oh, wow. Okay. So are you looking at this $850 one or the $303 one? Because I would say if you're spending more than $300 on hot air, you're probably spending more than you need to. Let's see. FM 2029. Oh, my camera just quit. Okay. What is the output on this thing? Let's take a look. Whatever. Just show me the website, Google. Killing me. Okay, so this is on the Hako website, and it is 140 watt, 550C. Okay, well, tip temperature says 550C, so that would, I would think that would be more than sufficient if that's the one you're looking at. I don't have experience with it, so I can't tell you, but what I can tell you is this. If you look up quick 861DW, you will find that a lot of people, okay, so yeah, or Weller. Weller's definitely a reputable brand as well. Personally, this is what I'm using, and I gotta tell you, in my experience and from what I've been told for the money, I think this is gonna give you the best bang for your buck. This is a 1,000 watt hot air Hako with 3 presets, so I have 3 different temperature presets I have on here. One for removing underfill, one for doing BGA, and one for the maxed out amount of heat that I can get for when I'm doing like Xbox One and PS4 HDMI ports. This thing is 264. I'm sure there's some shipping on it. So probably if you're going with this one, which was, what did we say, 303 versus this one for 264, I don't think you could go wrong. But personally, if you talk to a lot of people in the business, this seems to be the hot air station of choice for the money. So I have no problem recommending this particular one I have on the screen right now. This is what I'm using, and I love it. I've had it for more than a year, and I've only had to adjust the output on the temperature by about 5 degrees. And I use this thing daily, like all day, every day. So it has started to kind of cool off a little bit, but you can compensate. There's plenty of heat. And you know what's interesting is I recently got this bent nozzle, which everyone raves about using under the microscope. And I got to tell you, it's okay, but I'm so used to using the straight nozzles that I'm not even sure that I like this. It seems like I even have to turn the heat up more for that. And I've got plenty of working distance under my scope with the 0.5 Barlow, so, you know, all a matter of preference. Where is the one that you recommend fabricated one from? Is it made in Taiwan, China, or... that's a good question. I do not know the answer to that. Let's see. Is it on this... I think it's... actually, I don't know. Does it show here? I couldn't tell you off the top of my head. It's probably... it's going to be one of the two, but I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. Bent is better. Yeah, I think I'm still getting used to that bent one, Hawaii. Like, it works, but I'm so used to using the straight ones now that I feel like when you put the bent one in your hand, you've got to have this facing a certain direction, right? Because this one, if it rotates, no problem. You put the bent tip on here, and if you rotate it 45 degrees, now your nozzle is pointing in a completely different direction. So sometimes I feel like it's a little tough to get situated under the scope because it's not pointing the way I want it to, and I've got to go in here and kind of like twist things around. But I'm sure when you get used to it, it does the job. Tell something on thermal camera, please. Okay, anyone that has a thermal camera, feel free to speak up. I haven't found a manufacturer that will send me one of those to test out, which I would love to. I would love to do a demo on a thermal camera, but I'm not dropping $1,000 for that. So anyone who knows, by all means, let them know. Let's see. No cheap thermal. Yeah, check out the Quick. Rossman had a Hako and switched to Quick. Better specs on the Quick. Yeah, like I said, everyone that I know of that's using hot air generally recommends the quick. You know, and even if Louis Rossmann is using the quick and he's working on motherboards, which are generally going to require more heat than iPhone logic boards. And like I said, if you can do a PS4 with this thing, I think you can melt just about anything. Although the low melt solder stuff does definitely help. Should buy it today on Cyber Monday. I wonder if they're having any specials on stuff that we would use on Cyber Monday. Also, Paul Daniels, who does open board view, uses a quick with bent nozzles. Check out Union Repair. Yeah, I definitely recommend Union Repair. They've got great tools. In fact, they sent me a box of stuff that I'm still in the process of reviewing. Great place to look for stuff. If you're looking for a legitimate Chinese vendor that sells tools, unionrepair.com. These guys, everything I've got from them, I have been impressed with. I have no problem endorsing that company as a distributor because they sell a whole bunch of stuff from different people. Thank you for the response. Look forward to rewatching this video later. Cool. Awesome. Yeah, so guys, it is 3:30. I got other stuff I have to mail out, and I had some other problems I was going to solve, but I don't want to keep you here all day. Again, thank you so much to Oscar and Hawaii for the recommendations to just, Mike, look at what's in front of your face. And here's the lesson, right? Sometimes we dig way deeper than we need to. So while I always say this, maybe sometimes I get sidetracked and I forget about it. But one, always check out the easiest answer first, right? Do the least invasive diagnosis that you can. A lot of times you'll be surprised that you didn't have to go as far as you thought you might have. And when you do that, you invest a lot of time for nothing, and time is money. And secondly, always fix the easiest stuff first, because everything that I know I can get fixed is fixed. It's done. It's sent out. The customers are happy. I don't have that sitting behind these other things that I need to solve right now. So if that helps anyone, hopefully it does. Let's see. I'm in another video. You showed the mat that was blue, that was heat resistant. What brand was it, and where did you buy it from? I actually have two of those, guys. Geico Man. So I've got one that's right here. Let's see if I can move some stuff on it. You can off of it. You can see it. And I got to tell you, I don't really remember. Oh, you know what? You can see it on the other camera, actually. I don't remember where I bought it. I think somebody sent it to me, and I'm pretty sure it was like an Amazon thing or something like that. Let's see if we do this. Where is my other camera? Okay, where's my other camera at? Oh, that's weird. Let's see if we can bring this up here real quick. It should be this one. There we go. Okay, so if you're talking about this mat right here, where did I get this thing? I want to say a vendor sent it to me. And it's got a little magnetic thing up here in the corner. It is heat resistant, but I will tell you this. If you're doing something like, what's a good one? If you're removing the shield off of an iPhone 5S, for example, if you lay the phone right on top of this mat, it will start to bubble up over time, okay? So it's heat resistant, but if you put enough direct heat on it, eventually it will start to bubble. And for that, I just keep something real simple handy like this, okay? So I have a piece of wood. I throw it right here on my desk. This is a good insulator, covered with garbage right now, of course. But this will prevent the mat from bubbling, you know, and as soon as you take it off, you can go back to this. Now, I saw something else that was kind of cool. They have a blue mat like this that I really like because it has a bunch of holes up here along the top. And I'm sure that you can find these on the Union Repair website. But you can stick your screwdrivers in kind of like this. So it takes the tip of the driver and it goes down inside of a hole, and you can line them up right across the top here, which I think is kind of helpful. It keeps your tips protected while you're not using them. Of course, the only thing that doesn't fit is this hex driver for the iPhone 6. That won't fit into the little holes, and neither will my standoff drivers unless you really jam them inside there. But for everything else, that works out pretty cool. Let's see. Trash. Amazon and eBay, that's where I got mine at. Not so expensive. Yeah, and also if you guys check out any of my videos that show tools and soldering equipment and stuff like that, I'll usually put the links to where you can buy this stuff down in the video description. Stepped away for a minute and come back to Mike showing us wood. Yeah, that was my my heat-proof surface, Nate. My portable, anytime I want to heat something up with extreme temperatures, this is it. Do a little wood burning here. All right, guys, I got to get back to work. Thank you so much for joining. Thank you so much for trashing Latana, whatever that was about. I'm going to take off. I'll be back again, let's see, Thursday, 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And until then, you guys have a great one. I'll talk to you later.